At this point, um, I had already been diagnosed with some things. So uh, going back a little bit to when I was in the Tenderloin, um, I was, like I said, I shot up, going to a lot of parties, a lot of bad behavior, not caring, totally spiritually disconnected. But anyways, I got a diagnosis of hepatitis C, right? And so I found that out because I got into a really bad car accident where I almost died. My car was totaled. I had to go to the hospital, and they said, "Hey, you have hepatitis C." I was like, "Okay." Didn't care because I was still off of my psychosis, whatever you call it. And um, so then a few months later, like remember I said I woke up one day and it was just I saw things differently, mm-hmm. Right? It was during that time where I was like, there was just this voice in my head that was like, "You have HIV." I would be walking and the things I would notice, the letters HIV and AIDS. I was like, this is. I wonder if I have it. I mean, I wonder if it's. And then I would stop thinking about it, but I kept seeing it, kept seeing it, kept seeing it. So, anyways, when my aunt picked me up from the Tenderloin, she says, "Well, let's go to the hospital and have you checked out." And right before she came and picked me up, I got super high one last time. And so she picks me up, we go, and she takes me to the hospital. I'm high out of my mind. And seeing these doctors, I'm trying to calculate what these doctors are saying mathematically. I'm trying to like interpret it, calculating words in my head, trying to figure out what they're saying and answer them correctly mathematically. That's what I'm doing in my head, and they're just trying to figure out if I'm okay. My aunt comes to the hospital. She's there at the hospital. My mom comes to the hospital. All these people are coming to the hospital to help me out. And I'm uh, there in the room. Doctor walks in, and before the doctor walks in, it's like I told my aunt, I'm like, "I'm pretty sure I have HIV." Oh, no, I said, "I'm pretty sure I have AIDS." But anyways, the doctor walks in, and I was so high. I think I said, "Hey, do I have?" I think I asked him, "Do I have AIDS?" He's like, "You have HIV, sir." And I was like, "I knew it." I just still, out of my mind, I didn't care. I was just like, whatever, okay. Um, so, anyways, that was my humiliating moment where I found out, that I have HIV. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you know how you possibly contracted it? You think this through those parties essentially sharing needles and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, there was. It was absolutely. Like if you, I think there's a spiritual aspect to it too. Um, and like I don't think you can just get it through simple sexual contact. I think it's like has to do with the needle, the injection, has to do with um, spiritual rituals. There's a movie out, I think it's called Black String.
Black string.
Black String.
Black string.
I think so. And it's about a kid, and he's a heroin user, and he he goes and picks up a girl, and there's this whole ritual that gets done on him. But anyways, I said I was in a bad place with like bad people, and so it depends on what you believe in, but like it really felt like it was a curse that was put on me. But anyways, something about it, never felt right about what the information that I was getting about it. And sorry, my story's all over the place. But I'm trying to get here in chronological order because there was a point where I still was like, um, I'm still using drugs. I'm still hanging out with bad people. So on top of my diagnosis
And
of
and just to kind of get things in a little bit order, this was before you got picked up, or this was after you got picked up by your aunt and uncle?
this was no, my aunt and uncle. I'm trying to think here. Uh, so yeah, no, my aunt and uncle, they picked me up and they got me sober for about 3 months. And then I moved out to the woods with my brother for about 2 years. And I wasn't using there. Um, and from there, I started to get back into like serious work. I was a production foreman for a factory. And I had this whole team underneath me, but it was a lot of stress. And I was working 12 hours a day. And so, in between that time, I fell back into, and fell back into, um, fell back into, the drugs and stuff. But, you know, getting back, like, into when I was diagnosed, I first started taking the medication, and because I was scared, I thought I was dying and all this. And, after doing some research and looking at things on the internet, um, I said, really don't know if this is right. I had a cousin who died of HIV/AIDS. At least that's what I thought. I had When I was 5 years old, the first time I ever seen my mother cry was when we lost our cousin David, and he had some kind of cancer that said to result from um, you know HIV/AIDS. But back in those days, like the medication back then was like really bad.
I thought the information was too, but go ahead.
Yeah, the information, the medication, like I think ACD or something like that, was like just destroying bodies. And so there was that already in my background, and so something I was like, well, you know what, if I take this medication and get sick and die, I'm not gonna like that either. So I made the decision really early on, like, okay, I would rather, get sick. I would rather, get sick from the actual virus, go when I'm supposed to go, than try to stop it with some medication like a guinea pig, and suffer the side effects of a new medication that no one really knows about. So I stopped taking the medication after 3 months of taking the medication. um, I was undetectable. Actually, after 1 month of taking the medication, I was undetectable, but I took the medication for 3 months, right? But then I stopped. The doctor got upset with me and was like, you stop taking medication. My numbers went back up. Like, don't come back unless you're gonna take the medication, basically. So I was like, whatever, I don't believe this, I'm not gonna take it. But I still had Hep C, right? So I just kind of I go into these phases where I get like super depressed and or whatever, and basically after work in my free time, I somehow uh, started to get entangled with people that were doing heroin.
And not to cut you off, but this was as you were the foreman.
So that's as a foreman. I'm working 12 hours a day, right? I go home and I sleep, and I still don't get to see my son. Child support comes out. I don't really even get to talk to him, and so that's just another thing. And I'm dating this girl at the time who's making me feel bad. Um, so something just snapped one day, and this lady was smoking heroin in front of me, and I said, "Oh, let me try that." And then she says to me, she says, "Don't do this for more than 3 days because then you're gonna have withdrawals." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So I tried it just for one day, not a problem. But then, the next time I wanted to try it. It was like a slow thing at first, right? And I didn't really feel the withdrawals. At least I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know what it was at first, but then like eventually I started to feel the withdrawals and it was terrible. So I kept going to the same place. This guy in Modesto, because I was working in Stockton at this time. So this guy in Modesto would somehow make it. I don't know, black tar heroin,
Mm-hmm.
and so I go pick it up, smoke it, and that was that. So then I went there one time and he doesn't have it, and I'm like feeling sick. And but I know fentanyl is available, you know, in that same area, in one of those rooms. And so I go and I find a little bit of air or some fentanyl, and I think the guy even says, don't, be careful with that shit strong.
And I was going to ask you, were you not scared about doing that? I know.
Oh, I was scared. I was scared.
I know a lot of people pass from fentanyl than other drugs per se. Well, I can't say per se, but I know fentanyl is one pretty popular and taking people out lately.
Oh, absolutely. It's the real. It was the real pandemic. Really, like people were just dropping like flies. Um, I was scared to do it, and I did a little bit of it, little very small, little bit at a time. And I just remember um, I felt like my heart was going to stop. Felt like oxygen wasn't getting into my body. It of course, there's this addicting feeling that people go to, but I remember like, holy shit, I'm feeling good right now, but I might die. I might die right now, and that's scary. And so I think I didn't get hurt because I already had heroin in my system. So by the time I tried fentanyl, like it was already like my brain like was okay to have a little bit at a time. But it became such a terrible addiction. Um, so now I work 12 hours a day, right? So now I go home, I don't sleep, I go get my drugs, $20 worth. Hopefully that's enough to last me throughout the night, throughout the next day, until when I got to go get it again. And sometimes it didn't. And when it didn't, like I was like, I get off of work and my drugs were 30 minutes away, and I could like I almost couldn't make it. I made it, but like I'd be dry heaving, throwing up. Like I'd have to wave to my dealer to come into the car from his room, waving to him like, I can't move. Please just give me the drugs. And it was so scary, man. So it was scary because the withdrawal feeling made you felt like you were gonna die, and also like you didn't know how long you were gonna have withdrawals. People were no one in the hood out there knew how to quit, how long it took to quit. No one knew anybody that quit. That was untouched like territory. If you tried fentanyl, you were doing fentanyl. And there was no stopping it. Um, so I was beginning to feel really hopeless. I was missing days at work. All the money that I had made, I owed to my dealer. And by the way, if I didn't find it in Modesto, I would go to the Tenderloin, because the Tenderloin people are out there, just out there,
24/7
with wads of cash because they are making so much money. They got heroin, they got mostly fentanyl, and they got crystal, and they're just sitting there, and they're just sitting out there. There's like a whole handful of them. People are just passing by, and these dudes just got backpacks on, wads of cash, and hella drugs, and they're all measured out. They're all measured out already, so that they can make the most for their money, and that you get enough to just get high or whatever, enough that you think is fair or good. And yeah, no, I was my girlfriend at the time. Had an apartment complex, and when you walked outside of the apartment complex, They were all there. You didn't have to go nowhere. You didn't have to go anywhere. They were just there. And they're just posted like mailboxes, just all, not just on that street, but like a couple corners. There was like it was like 24/7, just like the liquor store. Um, didn't have to know them. They didn't have to know you. It was like, aren't you worried about police?
No, it's an open sale market.
No, police will drive by. I've seen police drive by dudes hitting crack pipes on the street, and I'd see the cops look at them and not do anything and care about it. It's not something that they're concerned of. So, anyways, now my addiction is heavy, 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 and I can't go 2 hours without a hit. I'm working in a bakery factory, and yeah, I can't go on working there because of my addiction, and so I actually call Kaiser. Um, I call Kaiser. Um, anyways, I kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but I also was, while I was out there doing the fentanyl now, I was, I fell back into hanging out with wrong crowds, parties, and stuff like that. And, I guess one day I just wake up and I have like this really bad, like open wound in my mouth. And yeah, it turned out that I actually had syphilis at that time. And it may have gone through my gums because like it just like dissolved. Like all these teeth are fake right here. This destroyed my gums, right? And then I got like infection all down here too. Um, thank God for Kaiser. They came through with penicillin. So, anyways, part of my story is yeah, I have all these, I get all these different sicknesses that I was able, thank God, to overcome. Um,
And so, how did you contract the syphilis? I'm sorry.
I think it was probably just sexual contact, actually. Yeah, it was sexual contact. I don't doubt that. Um, probably with somebody who had it, I guess. Um, oh, shoot, that's my phone. It's just turning off or on. So, yeah, that was a painful experience. So at this point now, I have hepatitis C, HIV, and syphilis, and I'm just kind of not really, I'm just not really caring again. I lost sight. I think it was the fentanyl really that kind of took me away from my spiritual self. Like I was always in this survival mode of, get the drugs, get some food, don't be, don't be late. I don't know. Um, so now at that point, I still wanted to heal myself and get better. So it was at this point, I think it was the breaking point where I had borrowed like $100 from a girlfriend, and I went to go buy drugs with that. And the guy that I gave the money to just ran off with it. And so I was left,
But
with
this was
withdrawals.
to the loins as well.
This was actually this no, this was actually in Modesto.
Oh, sure.
So I lived in Modesto, but I had a girlfriend in Tenderloin. She was like in one of those apartment complexes, and she didn't work. She was poor. She said she claimed to have like a mental illness, and so she had to live there for free. So, anyways, I just remember that day when that guy walked off with my money. I was like, that's gonna be me if I keep doing this drug. I'm gonna be stealing from people because here I am. I have no money. I have nothing to trade. I traded everything at that point. video games, video game systems, sports stuff, um, any tools, anything that I could spend money, instruments, anything I could get money for, I given it up. I had nothing left to give. The money I borrowed was gone. And I was like, I don't want to become like that guy. I don't want to steal. And so, anyways, that was probably the turning point. I called Kaiser and I said, okay, I'm ready to go to that program you're talking about. Because I called them before and they're like, well, we got these options for you. And I took this option where they gave me medication and I stayed home, but I just took the medication, stayed home, and did drugs. And so I went to, like I said, I called Kaiser and then I asked them to let me be a part of that program.
Was it like a inpatient where you stay
Yeah,
there?
it was an inpatient program in the hills, mountains of Santa Cruz, actually. It was a recovery center, and it was a wonderful experience for me. I went there for 60 days, and when I got there, my main concern was fentanyl. I, for the life of me, didn't know how to quit, didn't know what to do. Oh, I should say this. Before I went to that recovery center, I went to that girlfriend's house in the Tenderloin, and I would just go do fentanyl and hang out with her. And then one day she's like, "Hey, I want to try it," and I said, "Okay." And so I held up, the foil for her. I pulled up the fentanyl, and I took off a little tiny piece, and I told her, I was like, "Just don't really inhale too hard." And I lit it up, and she inhales, and then I look at her, and she's having a seizure. She's gone. She does this. And so I pick her up off the toilet, I run her to the living room, put her on the couch. I'm trying to wake her up. She's not breathing. I throw water on her face. She's still not breathing. I'm like, fuck, I need to call 911. I call 911 and I'm like, no, I can't do this. And then I call him back. She's still not breathing. I said, she's not breathing. You gotta come here right away. And so the ambulance gets there right away. And they revive her and she's okay. But they gave her some Narcan and she came up right away. But her low oxygen levels was like super low or something like that. And yeah, that was a really scary moment for her and I. It was her first time trying it. She never tried it, and just that, and I put it even so small amount. I was shocked that it affected her that way, even though we knew that how strong it was. Just before I go to the recovery center, I do a little bit more in the bathroom at the gas station, and I go in there, and that recovery center gave me everything that I needed. They took care of me the way that I needed to be taken care of. I was there for 60 days. The first 30 days, I was going through withdrawals. So for 30 days, for every night, sweating through the sheets, had to change sheets in the morning, through all my clothes, every night shaking because it's cold. The first couple of weeks was really hard, just like, the throwing up, the vomiting. So after 30 days, my mind got back to equilibrium, and I started having fun again. I started, being more in touch with my spirit. And yeah, it was a really good moment. So I left there 3 years ago. I've not touched fentanyl, heroin. I still smoke weed.
Congrats.
Sorry, I don't know if I should say that.
No, you won't do
but
it.
I mean, I really believe in the healing powers of marijuana. when I say I was out there in the woods, I was growing marijuana. Lots of marijuana.
What are some Sonoma or that doesn't matter.
Oh no, no, it's okay. It was mountain ranch out there in Calaveras County, and growing some of the best weed. And it was all medicinal. It was all like grown naturally, and it was for to help people out. So it felt like a good thing. But anyways, that is my story for fentanyl. I was there with a lot of people at the recovery center, and a majority of them were there for fentanyl, and just fentanyl actually. Heroin isn't really as popular.
Not since I feel like since fentanyl has been on the
Oh yeah,
streets.
like what? It's yeah. Everybody was there for fentanyl. Some alcohol. It was either alcohol or fentanyl. Yeah. That's what everybody was there for. And I'm talking kids like 18 years old, there for fentanyl all the way up until like, I don't know, I guess, but, not too old, like 30s, 40s. Um, but anyways, so since then, I met a girl at that recovery camp. And, we've been together ever since we left. We hooked up
For the
later.
last 3 years.
Yeah. We left. We kind of started doing our own thing, but then we ended up meeting back again, and we've been together ever since. And I think we kind of help keep each other sober. And she's more, her thing was alcohol. My thing was fentanyl. And so it's been good. We have she has 2 kids, and so I think part of what keeps me sober is having a purpose. I really help a lot with their kids a lot, taking them to school and cook for them, and I'm kind of like a stepdad in their life, and so with that comes purpose, and I'm just trying to be good now for them. And life is still, it's not in the ways that like perfect. I still am working on getting back into my son's life. He's almost 12 years old, and it just requires getting back on my feet. I did a lot of damage to myself all throughout that time where I was addicted to fentanyl. Especially fentanyl. I did everything I could for money. I was getting loans. I was getting payday loans. I ruined my credit trying to feed my habit. But I couldn't help it. I was really scared, and I think that's the scary thing is people either they don't know what they're getting into when they do that drug. It's like Russian roulette the first time. It really is. Like you try it, there's a good chance you might just die. You might just get that bullet. And if you don't get that bullet, it's like a real slow death unless you know, get some divine intervention. That's what it took for me is to look back, at nature, to go back into nature, and to ask for forgiveness, and to give up, the ego, let go of the ego and what the ego wants to do, and make room for, prayer and meditation. Um, so, yeah, any questions about that's kind of where I'm at.